This morning we are going to finish the series that we started earlier on practical hints on meditation. So I thought if, as I hope, we'll finish a little bit early, that there'll be some time for questions. And if there are no questions, then we'll have a little bit of extra meditation time. So I want to start by going through briefly what we've covered in the past 4 sessions. This will be the 5th and final session. I started out with this very basic idea that somehow it's important for us to understand what's happening at the time of meditation, not simply to focus on what the technique of meditation is, but what the process, what really is taking place when we practice meditation. So it's not simply a question of the mechanics of it, but the metaphysics of it. If we have some sense that we're really making contact with the divinity within, or communion with the divine presence within, it adds a different dimension to our meditation. If our meditation is simply on the mental level, controlling the mind, trying to attain quietude, peace, and everything, will benefit from that also, but not to the same extent. If our interest really is inner transformation and some type of higher experience of reality within, then I think this is a very helpful way of looking at it, that we're really entering into a different space somehow. That it's not just a mental exercise. So I emphasize this idea that we want to go beyond simply that we're watching the breath, we're repeating a mantra, we're trying to control our thoughts, but to find out what's really happening at the time of meditation. So I gave 2 different models which are very commonly used. Now, I use the term model because when we talk about metaphysics, we find that there are all different points of view, or all different ways of looking at it, especially with regard to the mind. Does the mind belong to nature? Is it just an instrument? Is it part of Prakriti? Or is the mind the surface of this ocean of consciousness? Different ways of looking at it. And we find in Vedanta that they'll use both of these models, that Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji, and others, that they'll be equally happy with looking at this idea that the mind is an instrument, that the mind will reflect the presence of consciousness. And Sri Ramakrishna likes this image, we know, that pot filled with water, that you'll see the reflected sun on the surface of the pot. And then we have this idea that the water of the mind has to be still, and it has to be clean, clear. So if the water is muddy, that means if we have all sorts of passions and desires and anger and things in the mind, we won't get a clear image. And the water has to be still. That means no thoughts in the mind. Then we get a perfect reflection. So this is one model that we have. The other is if we look at the mind as simply the surface of this ocean of consciousness. And we can understand from that how Sri Ramakrishna will say that the pure mind and pure buddhi and pure consciousness are one and the same. And then we get this other image that in meditation, we're trying to go beneath the surface level of the mind. And when we go deeper and deeper, that we can have different experiences of that reality. So we have some beautiful songs, doob doob doob, rup shagare, we'll dive deep, oh mind, within the heart. And at the very bottom of the ocean of consciousness, you'll get all of the gems. You'll get all divine experiences and visions and everything. For the Jnani will go to an area of the ocean where there's just blackness, so deep that no light will penetrate, and then it'll be one with the divine in the dense darkness of the mountain cave. So these were two different possible ways of understanding what's happening at meditation. Each one is equally good. This is why Sri Ramakrishna always emphasized the fact that these are spiritual attitudes. Forget about which one is metaphysically, philosophically true, which one makes more sense logically, that each one will put us in the mood for meditation. If we try to think that the mind has to be perfectly still and calm, and clear like water, it's a very beautiful image to put us in the mood of meditation. If we think, really dive just beneath the surface level of the mind, we'll get to that pure consciousness of the divine. Another beautiful idea. So we don't have to be philosophers and argue which one is more logically correct. So we have these different models that we can use. So this was the first two sessions. I tried to concentrate on that. And then in the third session, we find that all this sounds good. We'll simply dive deep. It sounds good. But we find that we go a little beneath the surface of the mind, and these gems at the bottom are being protected by the sharks and the alligators. That as soon as we go a little deeper into the mind, we find that we churn up a little bit of these old samskaras, that we have to deal with the passions, and we have to deal with the desires. We all know that. As soon as we try to make the mind quiet, the mind will react. And all of the things that get churned up, we can call it the old samskaras and vasanas. These are things that have been lying hidden, perhaps, within the depths of the mind. These are not the gems at the bottom of the ocean. These are things hidden in the depths of the mind that prevent us from being calm at the time of meditation, and also just in our everyday-to-day life. These are the things that make us restless, make us ambitious, makes us always seek for things we don't have. So we have to deal a little bit with the psychological aspect of the mind. So this was the third session. Then last time, I tried to talk about this idea that meditation is not something that we simply worry about at the time of meditation. That we have to think about preparation for meditation. Whole life has to be geared toward meditation. Nobody has the strength of mind that they can do whatever they like throughout the day and then sit in meditation and turn on a switch. And the mind becomes perfectly still and calm and quiet and everything. Everything depends on what our mindset is throughout the day and how we approach meditation. How much weight we put on the preparation for meditation. So we found that there were three special elements to this. We all know that we have to practice abhyasa. This is the main thing. But this abhyasa, this is our meditation period. It won't work without this vairagya. So we have these two things. That first, we have to be dedicated to the practice of meditation. We have to be able to spend time in meditation. Second, we have to develop dispassion, non-attachment to things. We have to have this type of vairagya, that because it's the attachment and the passions and everything that make the mind restless at the time of meditation. And then we have the third thing, anuraga. That means that not enough to push away all the negative things. We have to feel some very strong pull towards the object of our meditation. If it's a personal type of meditation, if we meditate on Sri Ramakrishna or Holy Mother, if we meditate on any of the different aspects or even Puranic ideas we have of God, we should feel some close connection. So this anuraga has to be there. If it's an impersonal type of meditation, then we have to feel that same longing for truth, to experience the real nature of the self. This is why when we talk about anuraga, it doesn't have to be simply from a devotional point of view. No one had more anuraga than Buddha himself. That his longing was for the experience of truth. His longing was to reach that state where one can transcend all the misery and suffering of life. So these were the three things that that we talked about, especially the last two, this detachment and love for the spiritual ideal. And this love and this yearning and longing make meditation relatively easy. Nothing makes it easy. It makes it easier, we can say, if we sit for meditation and the mind has something that it feels drawn towards. See, this is the nature of the mind, is that we can't force it too much. If we force it too much, it'll react, and it'll go in the other direction. So we have to feed the mind with positive things, so it develops a taste for the object of our meditation. So we sit for meditation, and we feel automatically that the mind will go in that direction. So we want to develop that state of mind where we look forward to our meditation. For the devotees, this is the time of communion. This is the time when we can go and feel we're in the presence of God. For the jnani, this is the time when the yogi can leave everything behind and go into the cave and just commune with the self within. Or we think of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. This is the time when they can go and sit in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna. And as soon as they leave, they'll look forward to it. So we're trying to create a mindset where we actually look forward to that time of meditation. That this is not simply some mental exercise. This is the chance that we have to feel that we're in the presence of the divine, or communing with the divine, or at least, Swamiji says, this is the one time when we can be what we really are. We can really feel. Now I'm completely disidentifying with all the superficial aspects of myself, and I'm feeling myself to be really that infinite absolute consciousness. Okay, so we covered all of these things. Now, it occurred to me that this is supposed to be practical hints. These are a little bit, I hope, helpful hints, but not so practical. So I thought today I would try to be a little more practical with regard to certain things that we can do that may be helpful in our meditation. The first thing, and this is, for most of the people here, this is not anything new, but we should have some type of faith and conviction in the mantra that we repeat. In the name of God, there should be some faith that this name of God has a certain power to it, and if we receive it through initiation from a qualified guru, we should feel that it has some tremendous power to it. So this, again, repetition of the mantra is not a mental exercise. We should feel that this name, the name of the divine, is one with the divine. See, how do we commune with God? Well, this is the problem. Our understanding of and our ability to experience God is such a intangible thing. It's something so we just get a faint hint of what it might mean. But the name is something very concrete. So it's through this name of God, the repetition of the name of God, that draws us to the reality of God. Now, my point here is that if we repeat it with tremendous conviction and faith, that we've been given the one thing that can connect us, the most important thing that connects us. This will also change the nature of our meditation. I like to think that receiving the mantra at the time of initiation, it's like being handed the chain that's connected to the treasure chest that's at the bottom of the ocean. And every time we repeat the name, that we're one link closer. We don't know how long the chain is. It may be a very long chain, but it's finite. It'll have a finite number of links. Each time we turn it once, we're that much closer. So these are ways, you could say tricks of the mind. You'll find that almost everything here is psychological. Now, I happen to believe that it's true also, but it's a way to convince the mind that what we're doing is something that will take us to the highest type of realization and experience. So this was the first thing that I wanted to mention, that conviction and faith in the mantra, if we receive it at the time of meditation, at time of initiation, then we feel this is something that has been practiced. There's a tradition behind it. There's an accumulation of power. In our tradition, we take it right back to Sri Ramakrishna himself. Otherwise, any name of God will have a certain power to it, or any type of tool that we use for meditation will be helpful, but this will give us some special type of conviction. So that was the first thing. Then I wanted to talk about routine. We hear the word routine, and it sounds somehow boring. It's something we have to follow a routine that we may not want to, but it's like a chore. But actually, if we can fix a routine about it, we don't have to decide, should I do it now, should I not do it now, can I skip today's? So there's something very, very helpful about it. This one of the teachings of Swami Swahananda that was most important to me, and I heard him say many, many times, bind yourself to a routine. Bind yourself. Now it's spiritual life. We don't want to be bound by anything. For everything is freedom. Huh? But this is a type of binding that brings it freedom. It's maybe counterintuitive, I don't know, but those who practice that every morning to get up at the same time and not to have to think about it, to decide, should I do it, should I not do it, that the mind gets accustomed to it. And if we miss it, we feel we've missed something very valuable. So this idea of a routine is extremely important. And part of this routine has to do with when we practice meditation. Now, we've heard over and over again about the special times for meditation, early morning, evening. Sometimes they'll say noon, and sometimes midnight. For most of us, this midnight is not practical. We can try it once or twice just for fun, but it's nothing that can be done day after day if we have to live in the world and we have our duties and everything. But early morning is the best because we can't make any excuses. Other people can be still sleeping. And if we get up early morning and we find it a very quiet time, a very peaceful type of time, but we may be tired throughout the day. Now, most of us like this idea, oh yes, I'll renounce everything for God. But we're not willing to renounce being tired, to give up an extra hour of sleep. If we do that, then even being tired during the day is a reminder of our dedication to the spiritual ideal. And it's very, very helpful. These, again, mind gets accustomed to these things. So this idea of a routine, early morning, as I say, other people may be sleeping. Nature is calm and quiet at that time. To close our eyes when it's dark out and to open our eyes when it's light out. We feel some transformation is taking place outside and also inside. And the same thing in the evening. So these, of course, are the very important times for us to do our meditation. And the mind gets accustomed. This is the other thing, that we don't have to tell the mind. As soon as, say with Sri Ramakrishna, as soon as the sun went down, he went into a different mood. He would very often go into ecstasy at that time. So the mind will get accustomed to that early morning and evening if possible. that this is the time when the mind will become calm and quiet. Now, place. When we sit for meditation, it doesn't matter where we are. The eyes are closed. The eyes are closed. We're trying to enter into a different realm, but psychologically it makes a difference. If we have a certain area in the house, we have our own little shrine room, we have our pictures, we have burn some incense, we do things in a little bit of a ritualistic type of way, in a routine type of way. It all has an effect on the mind. Even the clothes, if we get into the habit of putting clean clothes, we have clothes that are only used at the time of meditation. Our meditation room is not used for anything else. We won't chit-chat or or check our phones or anything there. It'll be just for meditation or a little bit of worship or bhajans, things like that. These are very, very helpful things. So again, part of the routine that we try to keep that very special time and that special place. Then there's certain other things that we can do, all routine types of things. I found for me personally that early morning meditation, it's better if I give a little time before that meditation. Very often we get up and we're sleepy. We sit for meditation, we'll just be sleepy. So I find it's very nice to get up, take a shower, do a little spiritual reading. Some reading before meditation can be very, very helpful. I take a nice cup of hot tea. That'll help keep me awake also. And this spiritual reading can set the mood for meditation. It can also be the subject for meditation. Suppose we read some incidents in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, our Holy Mother. That may be our meditation that morning. We may read something from Gita or Upanishad or some teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, and that'll revolve in the mind. See, we're just trying to prepare the mind so that these things become a little bit easier. So everything is helpful. If you, to sit in the same spot, to sit in the same chair or asana, whatever it is, these all have some effect on the mind. Everything we do, the posture that we sit in. I'll tell you a very interesting incident. When I was a graduate student, I didn't have much to do. In graduate school, I used to take all these courses. They were seminars. We used to discuss things. Not many papers to write or exams or anything. So I had a lot of time to myself. So I would spend a little extra time in meditation and a lot of time reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. These were the two things that I didn't have any outside things at all. And when I would sit for meditation, I'd simply sit with my hand folded, very ordinary type of thing, nothing special at all. Anyhow, one day I was in class. Usually I have the pen in my hand and I'm ready to write something. But for some reason, I just sat and I folded my hands. And my mind went into some quiet space and I couldn't understand what happened. Right in the middle of class. I couldn't understand what happened. I looked down at my hands and then I said, See, the mere fact that we do something over and over again and that association comes to the mind that this is when the mind should be meditating, that'll trigger it. So these things seem so random, these ideas, but the mind is like that. It's very sensitive to routine, doing things over and over again. And these are all, for me, these are all helpful little things. Now, if we talk about preparing the mind for meditation throughout the day, this also includes preparing for morning meditation by doing something before we fall asleep. So that when we wake up, it's a continuum. So for me, it's very helpful. I like to read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna before I go to sleep at night and fall asleep repeating the mantra. We can wake up in the morning and the mantra will be going on. We'll feel as if it's been going on throughout the whole night. And the thoughts that we had, They may not appear in our dreams or anything, but we can wake up, and there'll be some continuity that way. So we're trying to look at the period of meditation as something special, and yet have the whole mind be in a meditative mood throughout the day as well. So this period before we go to sleep is important, and when we wake up, if we wake up and the mantra is repeating itself, then it's very good. I've mentioned before, I was asked what I thought was an unusual question by Swami Bhajanandaji. Many of you know that Swami Bhajanandaji is still living. He's quite old, but he was known in our order to be one of the real meditative types and very, very deep thinker. So he asked me one day, when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that you think? So I didn't know what to say. I was torn by giving some deep philosophical answer or just telling him some. So I said, that when I wake up in the morning, I try to be repeating the mantra. He said, okay. He said, when you get up in the morning, it's very good to ask yourself, where was I when I was asleep? A very philosophical idea. Yeah. Where was I who was I? Who was that in the dream that I had? That was I the witness at that time? Is it the same witness as now? To try to think, to give some sense of the unreality of the dream and also the unreality of this waking state. Now, this question of unreality of the world, when we're living in the world and doing things, it's not a good idea. It's a good idea to see everything as a manifestation of God. It's good to see God dwelling within all beings. When we sit for meditation, that's the time to think. This world is like a dream. I want to go deep within, forget everything. So this transition between the sleeping state and the waking state can set the mind also in that mood, that there's some reality that's deeper than both of these states, and that's this witnessing reality. So we try to keep this mood throughout the day. We try to practice our japa, repeating mantra throughout the day. Swami Parameshanandaji, another great monk of our order, disciple of Holy Mother, he used to recommend mini meditations from time to time. Take a 5-minute break throughout the day and just get the mind back into that mood, because this meditation should be an undercurrent throughout the day, but it slows down. It's like spinning a wheel. That if we spin a wheel and we let it stop completely, it's a little hard to start it again. If from time to time we give it another spin, and then it keeps revolving throughout the day. So this thought of the divine will revolve throughout the day. If we can do something like that, this few-minute break that we take, just close the eyes. Just try to remember that spiritual ideal. Just not let the world intrude too much so that we forget everything else. Then we know that all of this meditative type of life means we have to monitor our activities throughout the day, the things that we do, the company that we keep, entertainment that we watch, all of these things, everything has an effect on the mind. So it depends how serious we are. If we really want to stop going out to parties and mixing with people that very worldly people that we feel obligated to, this Swami Swahananda, he says in one place, yeah, you'll no longer be the party person that you used to be. That you may lose some of the friends that you had, but what you gain will be so much greater. So this is a very important thing, that to observe the mind, to see how worldly company and worldly pursuits affect the mind. Now, one thing is also important to note. In the beginning of spiritual life, we have to be extra cautious. In the beginning of spiritual life, we may feel a very strong reaction against these things. I remember when I was young that I had a terrible reaction toward having to go and go to, if I had to go to a party or mix with people or something like that, or do the very worldly things. Yeah, it was horrible for me. I couldn't bear it. No, I don't mind. I can. We develop a little bit of spiritual strength after some time. So now some harmless entertainment things are good. In the beginning, my mind was so geared against these things that I would have some kind of reaction to it. A little bit of an immature mind, but also we have to be a little strong at the very beginning. So we have to observe our own minds. This is the most important thing. And we'll find that some things affect the mind, some things don't. And the things that affect the mind, we have to be a little bit strong about all of this. Then, karma yoga. There's practice this type of detachment, but also house cleaning. That I find very often that the mind gets disturbed when we postpone, when we put things off. That the letters that should be written, rooms that should be cleaned, all this, just to remove the clutter of the room, removes the clutter of the mind. Yeah, everything becomes clean because we have to observe what does the mind go to at the time of meditation. Very often it'll be things that we feel that we have to do that we haven't done. So just as a help to meditation, as a help to our life, of course, but as a help to meditation, to do some of this type of house cleaning. And also to remember we do everything with the attitude that we're simply like the maidservant in the rich man's home. We try to do things without any type of real attachment at that time. So all of this is leading up to this idea that we want to make an event out of meditation. Not a chore and not a mechanical type of thing, but something that is the highest priority, that we think about, that we try to gear our lives around, that we look forward to, like many a loved one that we haven't seen for a long time. See, this presence of God is within it at all times, and we never lose that. But if we're not thinking of the divine, then it's the same as if we're far away. So everything is a question of the mind and the longing of the mind to have that type of communion. If we think of God day and night, God is very near to us. If we don't, God is very far from us. These are, as I say, both psychological ideas and also some higher truth to these things also. So, day and night, we try to immerse ourselves. There's an immersion theory, immerse ourselves in this thought of the divine. For me, one of the best ways in our tradition is reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. In my early days, I used to read it hours on end. And I would sit for meditation, and I would be right there with Thakur in his room. Very, very helpful. Keep the mind fully soaking up that divine presence so that it becomes real. So we feel that Leela, that the play that took place, how many years ago now? We're talking about 1881, 82, 83, 86, back then. This is going on even now. This idea of Nitya Leela, that we feel that we can sit and we can be in that divine presence, and it's real. It's not just an imagination. Somehow it's real. So we look forward to it. This idea that for a spiritual seeker, there are two different moods. One is this Viraha bhava, when we feel separate from God, and Milana bhava, when we feel united with God. If we can feel that, and this feeling of being separate from God is a very high type of state, because the mind is constantly longing for the presence of God. That can be in between our meditation. Meditation will be this Milana bhava. Now we've gone to Thakur's room, we're sitting with him. We end our meditation, we have to say, okay, goodbye, I'll come back as soon as I can. But part of the mind will always be there, sitting there. So this is that idea of immersing ourselves in this divine thought so that we sit for meditation. It's a smooth entrance into meditation. There's nothing jarring that we have our worldly life and our meditative type of life. So one final point, then we'll have a little time, and this has to do with after meditation. That there's a kind of afterglow that we can have at the time of when we finish our meditation, that let the mind, that revolving of the mind around the divine that we've started, let it continue somehow. So Swami Brahmananda, he gives great emphasis to this idea that we shouldn't immediately get up for meditation and start chit-chatting and get in the car and drive and go to work. Let it soak in a little bit. Spend a little bit of time even feeling what was taking place at the time of meditation. So that this little afterglow will continue throughout the day until our next type of meditation. So anyhow, there are many, many other things that could be discussed about this, but these are some of the things that at least have been helpful for me. So I thought that I would mention them also. So we have a little time, if anybody would like to ask anything, what we talked about today or any of the other sessions on meditation. Yes. Okay, so the question was that when the mind wanders, there are two things that we can do. One, we can simply watch the mind, observe it and everything, and the other is we can forcefully try to pull it back. This is Abhyasa Yoga. Now, I'm glad you mentioned this because I forgot something that I wanted to mention. And that Swami Vivekananda, when he talks about meditation, he gives also his own little hints on meditation. One, he says, a very important idea, before we meditate, we should do some type of prayer for the welfare of all beings. Send out good, positive thoughts for others, so that our meditation doesn't become too much of a egocentric or selfish type of thing, number one. Number two, he says, simply watch the mind. Don't try to control your thoughts at the very beginning. Let them run around a little bit, but watch them. Be the witness of it. He says you'll find that they slow down and the mind will become quiet on its own if we disidentify with them. So these are not really two different things, that we want to stop the mind from wandering. One of the ways that we stop it from wandering is reminding ourselves that we're the witness. And the other way is to simply place it, bring it back to the positive side. So this Abhyasa Yoga really means that we know the mind will wander and we pull it back. And ultimately, we want to make the mind like a trained dog. It'll know, slightest little tug, it'll know to come back. But the mind is not like a easily trained dog. This is why Thakur always emphasized this other side, that what we're pulling it back to, the mind back to, has to be more magnetic. It has to be, the appeal of it has to be greater than what it's running after. So this is why I say we have to do this immersion, this therapy, immerse the mind in this spiritual ideal so that the mind derives more pleasure from it than it does from thinking of worldly things. Then it becomes easy and simple. So there are actually three things. If we simply observe things, which is helpful, we forcibly try to bring the mind back, or we have something more appealing that we place the mind onto. Yes? We don't have to worry too much about these things. Yeah, the question was that the time of, especially if we go further north, in countries that are close to the equator, there's not much difference. But the time of sunrise will be different throughout the year. If we make it a practice to get up early enough, it'll be dark no matter what time of year it is. And in the evening, see, at Belur Math, for example, the morning meditation, morning arati time, 6 months of the year it's one time, 6 months of the year it's another time. So you make sure that you're up early enough. But evening meditation, it'll be different every single day because it'll go by sunset. Every day it's a little bit different. There it's a little more noticeable in everything. But for us, we don't have to be, it's not so much what's really happening in nature when the sun rises, as it is how the mind is reacting to these things. So, yeah, sometimes of the year, we may sit early for meditation. We finish our meditation, it's still dark out. So, it's more a question of mind getting accustomed to getting up early in the morning and meditating. Yes, please. Okay, good question. See, these are all points that I was going to talk about and I forgot. See, Sri Ramakrishna has two of his most important teachings are keep holy company and spend time in solitude. So we have an option. Actually, all meditation is solitude. We meditate alone. But if we meditate with other people who are also on the same spiritual wavelength, we come to the temple and there are other people who are meditating, it can be very, very helpful. Or, he says, go into solitude. If completely alone, there's nobody else there, then this is also extremely helpful. The problem is meditating with other people is part of the mind may be thinking that who else is there, how long are they sitting, are they watching me, am I getting up too soon, am I showing off? Part of the mind may be. If we can eliminate that and just feel, suppose one of our senior swamis is here and sitting there for meditation, and we're also sitting nearby meditating, very, very helpful. That we can feel that part of the mood will create an atmosphere in the room. So both are helpful. That to meditate all alone in silence and without anybody knowing. There's another very important feature of spiritual life. Sri Ramakrishna says, the less people know about your spiritual practice, the better it is. So if we go into solitude, he talks about the person who meditates in the mosquito net in his bed in the morning, and people think he's sleeping late. Yeah. So this is one type of ideal, but the other is holy company. If we can meditate with other people who are also sincere spiritual seekers, it can be very helpful also. Both are good. Yeah. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm. There are all different types of meditation. We can talk about meditation in different ways. If we receive some specific instructions in meditation, then that's one thing. Otherwise, the mind can get into a meditative mood. We can think certain things. It'll also be a kind of meditation. Yeah. So we can look at it from that angle also. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's why I was saying that. That sometimes in fact, I gave the example last week or the week before. You get in an argument with somebody, Rather than sit in meditation and you go and apologize to that person, or resolve it, or take care of some situation or anything. Yeah, this is the best way to do it, if it can be done. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, see, our meditation is not so deep. Those who go into really deep meditation, it may go on and on and on. Uh, so for most of us, we'll have a beginning and an end. We'll know that, say, here especially, we have a certain time when we know we have to get up at a certain time. That we have to prepare for breakfast, prepare for puja, something like that. So, as I say, for most of us, the mind does not go so deep into meditation that it's hard to come back into the body or anything like that. For someone like Sri Ramakrishna, it was very hard for him to bring the mind back down when it went into that very deep type of state. So, people have different techniques. Some people, towards the end of their meditation, they'll do some more prayer or something. Some will do their japa at the end. Some will do it at the beginning. Everyone will have their own little technique, but it's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about it very much. We know everything about it when we begin our meditation, but how do we stop our meditation? That one point that Swami Brahmananda made, that we finish our meditation, okay, we open our eyes. We sit for a while. We let it sink in. We try to feel, where was the mind at the time of meditation? Was I aware of this external world? Did I know anything that was going on? To let it sink in a little bit like that. But we find the mind easily comes back to the body, the idea. It would be nice if we had that problem, that we go so deep into meditation that we become more identified with the self within. But generally the mind comes back easily to the body idea. Okay, so now let's take 10 minutes. We'll have a little bit longer period of meditation, and see if we can try to go a little beneath this surface level of the mind, make the mind a little bit quieter. I always feel the meditation is a question of the heart, and not a question of the mind. If we can feel the divine presence within, or the higher self within.